Well, we learned a lot in the first 10 or 12 years, and the improvements in Windows 9X in regards to memory are tremendous. First, we have a new 32-bit protected mode driver, a virtual device driver called a VXD driver. It's automatically loaded into extended memory when Windows 9X loads. This eliminates the need for those lines in the config sys file like device equals. We also free up more conventional space and upper memory space because we don't need programs like SmartDrive.exe. Windows 9X has its own programs to maximize the speed with which data is transferred from one drive to another. But Windows 9X allows us to work with a lot of different types of software because it's able to simulate an environment for them. You can remember that we talked about real mode. In real mode, a 16-bit program or a 16-bit device accesses memory directly. In other words, it has direct access to the physical RAM. In virtual real mode on Windows 9X systems, the program thinks that it has access to memory, but it actually doesn't. In other words, we set the properties in Windows 9X so that the program thinks that it's really working in a real mode environment and that it's the only program running, that it has all the memory that's available to it, and that it accesses data using a 16-bit data path, even though it's on an operating system that can use a 32-bit data path and many other programs are running all at the same time. So Windows 9X makes every program feel comfortable because it gives it what that program needs. This varies between DOS and Windows 3X. DOS expects to run in a real mode with no other applications running with it. Because in DOS, if we wanted to run another program, we had to shut down other programs in order to, in other words, we could only run one program at a time in DOS. So that's what DOS expects. So that's what Windows 9X simulates. Windows 3X expects to allow Windows to manage memory for it, and it expects that other applications might also be running, but in a cooperative multitasking environment. In other words, the applications are controlling how much of the processor's time that they have. Since this is what Windows 3X expects, this is what Windows 9X gives it. This is called running Windows on Windows, and the term for that is WOW. Running a 16-bit application in a real mode environment requires configuring the computer. However, most applications that run in Windows 9X will configure the program information file themselves. If not, then we can configure it using a PIF editor, or Program Information File Editor. We also have virtual memory management in Windows 9X that's automatic. You can see in this picture it says, "Let Windows manage my virtual memory settings, recommended." In Windows 9X, it's recommended that we let Windows set the amount of virtual memory based on the amount of actual memory that we have in the system. But the ultimate solution to our memory problems comes with Windows NT and Windows 2000. Because the memory mapping and the memory model is totally different with the newer operating systems. It's one continuous linear 32-bit address space, and it allows each program and driver using Windows NT to access any part of that memory, but it fools every application into thinking that it has all of the memory on the computer available to it. So Windows NT and Windows 2000 are tremendously better at managing memory, and as a matter of fact, memory management isn't even a factor in regards to Windows NT and Windows 2000. So in our next section, we'll take a look at some tips on upgrading memory in a computer.